Hi, this is Michael William Denny of the ThunderWizard.com YouTube channel. So, today I want to expound on my feelings about what Sasquatch is. Not there's one Sasquatch, the race of beings we call Sasquatch. Sasquatches, Sasquatch I don't know what the plural is. Sasquatches. Because I said in there, I'm going to tell you more of my thoughts about them, and I do that a lot. I say I'm going to tell you more, and then I get so caught up I don't have time. So I want to talk to you about what I believe Sasquatch is. I can't prove it. I don't have, this is just purely my thoughts. It sounds good to me, based on my experience, my personal experience with what I believe to be Sasquatch, and based off of the lore of them from the Native Americans and other people recently who have experienced them, whose testimony I believe. There are some people out there that are full of crap. I won't mention their names, but there are some people out there that are total hoaxes and full of just nonsense. But there are some people who have very credible evidence, physical evidence that, Sierra Sounds is one of them. And so when I take that combined with my experience, my thoughts about them are this. We know for a fact that even though we can't prove that there is a physical being, which we would call Sasquatch, in our environment, we know for a fact that one almost completely identical, if not the exact same thing, existed at one time because of some in Asia, I think caves in China, South China. We have basically all we have are teeth. So that's the interesting part. We have teeth from a creature which we know was a very large bipedal primate. We tell by the teeth they're almost very human-like. They're just enormous. So this being, which is called Gigantopithecus, would have been about 10 feet tall, which is what Sasquatch is said to be, about 10 feet tall on average. Bipedal hominid, very human-like and very ape-like together. If you were to combine the two, you would get Sasquatch. So we know that Sasquatch existed. We just can't prove that he still exists. Now, that means that either he is very elusive, he's an elusive primate like a gorilla or something like that, but he lives in the forest. By the way, here's some people just don't think things through. There was an expedition done, I saw a film of an expedition to try and prove or disprove or whatever, investigate Sasquatch in the Pacific Northwest, and there was a scientist who was a primate scientist, gorillas and chimpanzees and orangutans. And so because of their expertise in gorillas and chimpanzees, this person was brought along to examine the environment to see if a species of primate could live in that environment. And the conclusion that that scientist came to was that no, a large primate the size of Sasquatch could not exist or survive in the forests of the Pacific Northwest because there's not enough food for them. Now the assumption, and this is what I mean, people make assumptions and have no idea what they're doing. The assumption was that because gorillas and chimpanzees and orangutans eat mostly fruit, that's what a Sasquatch would eat. A Sasquatch would eat mostly fruit because that's what big primates do. Except for one exception. This is a scientist who didn't bother to make the connection that, oh wait, I'm a primate and I eat mostly meat. I don't eat any fruit. And human beings do just great in places like the Pacific Northwest. If they have any ability to hunt, you throw them out there, they will survive just fine. In fact, they'll thrive. There's plenty of food out there. Nothing but food out there. You got fish, you got turkey, you got fowl, you got deer, there's just so much stuff out there to eat if you know how to hunt. So the answer is yes, absolutely. A large primate could live out there. And So the only thing you have to do is just open up your assumption to, what if Sasquatch eats meat? And if he does, absolutely. So this is what I mean. People just don't think. Drives me crazy. So what do I think Sasquatch is? You're asking as I go off on tangents. I believe that when the hominid races were figuring themselves out, and as you know, if you go back far millions of years, there were multiple bipedal hominids walking around. The majority of them did not survive because evolution had made them too specific for a specific environment. And so they got so successful at their own specific environment that when there was a climate shift, they died out. So, in fact, this is true about human beings. If you don't know this, the reason why human beings are the only bipedal hominid that are still walking around, it's because about, I don't know when it was, I think it was about 100,000 years ago. Might have been, I don't know, might have been different, but I think it was about 100,000 years ago. About 100,000 years ago, there was a huge climate shift. A climate shift that got rid of a lot of grasslands and a lot of forests and turned them into deserts and very dry plains. And that killed off the majority of all the bipedal hominids because they were too good in their own environment. When their environment changed, they couldn't survive. There was one group, bipedal hominids, which was our ancestors. And for some reason, they developed these brains that started to be able to think abstractly. No others did that. Nature had focused on having them survive in their niche. You take their niche away, they don't know what to do. They don't think far enough ahead. But here are these humans. Now, the other thing that makes humans so successful is that, as opposed to, say, gorillas, human beings can have children every 9 months. They can just keep squishing them out. And so we became very smart and we became very sexually prolific. So we had a lot of them. That was the strategy. I mean, it was like it was a last-ditch effort, and nature just said, hell, if we don't fix this, we're going to lose hominids altogether. Let's just give them a bunch of different stuff. And so what ended up happening is that during this climate shift, even the humans that were alive dwindled down to a very small number within the thousands. So much so that we almost became extinct. If we had dwindled down even further, there wouldn't have been a viable enough population to keep us alive as a species. So we almost went extinct. And what ended up happening is that that made us smarter. And we started thinking more abstractly. And then then there was another climate shift that brought things back, and the grasslands and the jungles and the forests came back, and humans went crazy in all directions. And that's when humans made the push up from southeastern Africa into the northern hemisphere and the rest of the world. Had that not happened, there would be no humans. So at that time, when all these hominids were running around, there was all kinds of what we would call robust species. Big, muscular, not completely as much meat eaters, more grain eaters and foragers, and very strong. And then you had the more gracile, which is humans are more gracile, more petite, as it were. And so nature was trying out both of these to see which one would be more successful. Now, on a physical level, that's what we know. But here's what I think happened. We're at 9 minutes. Here's what I think happened on an emotional level. A spiritual level. People, myself included, who have experienced Sasquatch say that they are highly emotional. Like their emotional being is almost unbelievable, the amount of emotion that comes out of them. And that they communicate, even though they do speak. I didn't hear, the one with me didn't speak. He vocalized, but he didn't speak. People who hear their language feel very strongly the language coming out of them. And so my experience is that the universe that we have created as human beings is a result of our left brain, our logical brain, which is why we're so into technology. And we create these cities and we do all these things which to other people in other times would be absolute magic. But to us, it's just our technology. It's how, and we create this very dualistic universe. And we live in that universe. But it's its own vibration. Now, interconnected with our own vibration, there are other vibrations, which are all the other entities, whether we're talking about dwarves or trolls or fairies or angels or whatever it is. They exist on different dimensional planes, but they still intersect with our dimension, right? So when we see them is when our dimensional planes shift and merge. This is, by the way, what Halloween is. Halloween is when the spirit realm and the earth realm vibrate close together and we can see them and we can communicate with them. Historically, this is what Halloween has always been. So it is my belief that the Sasquatch race, as they were developing, as human beings were developing this mind that created this dualistic universe, and we solidified ourselves into this dualist universe that we created, the Sasquatch people, as they are evolving, are going in the right brain. Their right brain is where they are going. And so they create another dimension with their, their intentions and their feelings. And that is not completely connected to ours. It's more of an emotional one, which is why they can shapeshift. As an actor, I can tell you that. You've seen me. I'm doing this channeling thing. The right brain does amazing things, what you can do. And that's why they're able to merge into their, people say that they just disappear into their environment. Some people would say they disappear into another realm altogether. But I can definitely tell you my experience with whatever that was coming from a different realm. And it was intersecting with ours, and it was not of this dimension. So I believe that they created with their intention their own dimension. Now I believe that they are as intelligent as us, if not more so, but they don't have the same skill set that we do. They have a more magical skill set. They have more of an emotional skill set, which to them is not magic, it's just their technology. It's based on emotions, which is why they don't have clothes. They don't need that. They are connecting in some other way to their environment and creating through that. So they're very natural in who they are. Which, by the way, when I go back to it, if you watch that other video, I think those screams, I don't think they were meant to frighten me. I think the perspective of that Sasquatch was, he was going, "Hi, hello, it's me, you called?" But because I don't vibrate on the same level as him, it came across as this booming that came through me and tore my world apart. Because I'm not part of his world. But if he were to manifest and materialize in the middle of the city, all of the cars and the airplanes and all of the craziness and the thought and the television and that would be as shocking and frightening to him as his world is to me. So you see what I mean? It's just which side of the brain became more dominant. That's my view. So that's it for now. Tell me if you like where I'm taking the channel. Do you like the things I'm talking about? Put it in the comments below. If you like my channel, please support it. If you don't see the thing, scroll below. Support the channel. Comment, like, subscribe, and any suggestions you have, I'm happy to listen to them. That's it for now.